And that's why babies are always like foot in the mouth. They're picking up a lot of information, and it's information, not just movement. The biggest culprit is shoes. Most people have traps, shoulders, neck, and jaw tension, and that's because we wear floaty shoes. The body's biotensegrous. So we're like a balloon. And just like an animal balloon, we have areas of pressure that's blocked off. Those things that I'm talking about exist in your fascial tissue, which is around your muscles and through your muscles, around your organs, inside your organ, but it's in that fascial tissue. So that needs movement. Do a movement routine that uses pressure. The practice can't be denied. Like, people move faster through fascial maneuvers, they run better, that calms trauma, stress. And the reason why you feel so alive after doing that is because that friction creates a piezoelectric field. So it creates electricity inside your fascia.
Garry Lineham is the co-founder of the super-powered, super popular movement team known as the Human Garage. With nearly 2 million social media followers, Garry and the Human Garage team are helping millions of people all over the world to get out of pain, to move better, perform better, and live better. Garry says that an extraordinary life starts with a realigned body and a clear mind. You're about to discover the real reason behind pain and restricted movement, overlooked conditions in our environment that are keeping people sick, and how to use fascial maneuvers to instantly feel better starting now. I'm so excited to talk to you, and I want to start off by talking about, number one, what is fascia?
Yeah.
And number two, what are these fascial maneuvers that you're teaching people? You just even taught me a little bit before we got started.
Well, fascia, if you want to talk about it from the clinical side or the sports side, it's a tissue that resides below the skin that holds everything together. We used to call it connective tissue, which kind of diminished its capacity. But we now know today that it has a brain called an interstitium. And that interstitium has these sensory processing, called like nerve endings. And let's say your brain has 100 billion of these sensory processing cells, or let's say. And it's not directly a cell, but the fascia has 100 trillion. And so we have all these things, like the fascia is what it covers the organs, is what we're told, and then it covers the muscles, the nerves, the tendons, the glands, and the brain. But to tell you the truth, we're actually born in fascia. So there's a ball of plasma when we're born, and inside that, in the first 6 weeks, there's these two nerve clusters that connect. And then after 6 weeks, the muscle-skeletal system grows around that. That fluid is fascia. It's a plasma. And so, interesting thing from a scientific point of view, the only thing, you can cut everything out of the body. You can cut your eye, you cut teeth out, in dissection. You can cut every bone, every nerve, every tendon, every organ out, but you can't remove fascia. So if you look at it from a more of a systems process, is we are fascia, and inside of it is all the things that we currently study around human health. But I want to throw one curveball at it. We have 5 senses: sight, sound, touch, taste, hearing. But we have these other senses that the other 10 of them, like clairaudience, clairsentience, we have the perceptive senses that people use once in a while. Like, I just feel like, or I knew that was going to happen. Athletes, they call it the zone when they tap into those other senses. Those exist outside of us. And somehow inside of us, we're notified to move or act on them. And so I propose that the fascia actually starts at that bioentropic field, or the aura entropic field, bioenergetic field, which we can now measure with science. So I say that the fascia starts there, and its frequency, that's the tentacles to what we see inside underneath the skin.
Fascinating.
I say fascinating.
Fascinating. I knew it. I knew it. I was about to parlay into a word. Wow.
And then you asked about fascial maneuvers.
Yes.
So fascial is not technically a word. It's a word we created when we knew that we wanted to talk about something and we wanted to make it different. Because if you say fascia, everybody thinks connective tissue. You cut it, round it. And so we invented the word fascial. And so fascial maneuvers is also, we could trademark it. We could use it intellectually and stuff like that. So fascial systems or fascial maneuvers, it's moving the fascia. And what it does is it creates counter rotation and pressure in the body. Just like when you're an athlete and you wind up to throw a ball or hit a ball or something like that, or you're springing out, there's a torquing and a springing which creates adaptation or power in the body. It's that winding torque spring. Well, that fascial system is actually what drives that. So all the fascial maneuvers are based around this counter-rotated or spiral, and it's based around compression of the body, and then putting the body in a what the body feels is a compromised position but safe. Like when we twisted earlier, that actually compresses your lungs. And your body says, well, lungs breathing is important. So what it seems to do is it seems to go all around the lower rib cage and open up the fascial layers on those bottom ribs. And that's where your greatest oxygen conversion happens, in those last two ribs. And so that's what I would say fascial maneuvers is. There's a lot more as we start to go through it, as what happens when you practice. But that's the best description I can give you.
Amazing. So, for example, so it's breathing into, like when the body is rotated and the lungs, I guess there's a slight constriction there.
Yeah, you're torqued, so they can't
But
fire.
then we purposefully breathe deep.
Right.
Okay.
Because your body says, there's something wrong with my breathing. And then since breathing is the most important priority of the body sends resources to resolve it. So right around the center area, right where your diaphragm is, it actually gets hot right away, like within a couple of breaths.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it sure did.
And that opens up for the diaphragm to move better, to pull your lungs down. That's one of the things that like pro athletes like Novak Djokovic and stuff like that, they're using these movements because it resets the nervous system. As you go through a game, you get tighter. And if you reset, then you get more oxygen flow. Because as you go through especially in a rotational sport, as you get tighter and tighter and tighter as you move through the sport. That's the job of it, because your body goes, hey, this is good, but at some point I want you to rest. And so it creates more constriction until you become tired. Now, if you release the constriction, your body goes, oh, I'm back into parasympathetic quicker, so I can give you more energy again. So your body regulates and gives you more energy. So in the middle of a sporting event, it feels like you get more energy when you do one of these movements.
Fascinating. I love it. Fascinating.
I was going to correct you.
So, okay, if we're in this domain with fascia, and, speaking of all of the nerve capacity there, as you know, much of our education revolves around the brain is controlling everything. The brain is controlling movement. Mm-hmm. And just based on some of the stuff that you talked about, like this, even our ability to react to things or to even foresee things has to do with some intelligence in the fascia itself. So what's really moving the body? Is it just the brain, or is the fascia involved too?
So, this was something that bothered me for years. I'm just a systems analytical guy. I came from systems development, software, programming, encryption, and I think of things in numbers and puzzles. And when I got into practicing healthcare, I noticed that there were all these parts of the puzzle that didn't exist. They said, that's just how the body is. And I'm like, no, it's not that. That's a way of saying I don't know, I don't understand, or it's too great for me to think of. That's a cop-out. There is a reason for everything that happens in the human body. It's the body is precise. It's the best computer on the planet. So I said, what if we think about it differently? What if the body is the computer and the brain is just a processor? Because that's kind of what it does. It runs programs. And if it gets stuck running a program, it creates this loop, and we call it a repetitive thought. So a computer, that doesn't sound too intelligent. That sounds more like a processor that just got stuck, and then you have to turn the power off and turn it back on. That's what we do with our phones. So if we think of the body like the computer, the brain would be the processor, and the idea of the brain running the body. We did nerve conduction testing in the clinic. We had U.S. Olympic team, like Tyson Gay as the fastest runner in the world next to Usain Bolt. We had the Dodgers in there, like Andre Ethier, and we had the management. We had all these elite celebrities and athletes there. And we were open to solve problems that the teams and other people and the doctors that had been going to couldn't. And we were working outside the boundaries. And so we would do tests. And we ran on 10,000 active patients, we ran tens of thousands of tests on them. And one of them was one day we were doing a nerve conduction testing where you put conduction equipment on and you stimulate a nerve and you watch it go all the way up into the brain. And we had an EEG on and watch it go through the brain back down into the foot for motor control. And that whole pathway took a second and a half. And I'm like, wait a second here. So if that's true, then how do we move when we step on glass? And they said, oh, dummy, yeah, you're not a doctor. You don't know this. This is the nerve reflex. It's called a ganglion reflex, using a bunch of words make me feel stupid. And it's like when you hit your knee, you go like this. And I said, when I step on glass, I don't spring and go boing. I move intelligently to safety. That's an intelligent movement, not a reflex movement. So I said, like at that time, I said, I don't care that you can't explain it, but to tell me that it's this, it's not that for sure. It's not a reflex. It's some sort of intelligent movement. And it drew me into this world of fascia to say what's moving the body, because the brain didn't even know. You think about it. If it was a second and a half, it'd be 1/1000, ouch, move. But when we step on glass, we move right away. So something was leading me to look past that mechanism. And then once I thought, well, what if fascia is moving the body? Then I had to start to rethink things like, what's the brain's job? And the way I see the brain is as a circuit connector. We can see everything in the brain. And just like a circuit board, I could push buttons on a circuit board and it'll affect the machines on either end. So that's what the brain looked like it was doing to me. And taking it a step further, we were looking at things like, okay, so I originally practiced chiropractic. So none of the bones in the body touch except for your teeth, your rib cage, and your ears. Like take your knee joint. That knee joint has one muscle crossing it, about this big. And what holds it up? Well, that muscle ain't holding up. I know that. Tendons keep you from pulling too far apart. Meniscus, if you touch, you're going to be in problems. It's going to tear. So the only two things left is connective tissue and skin's not holding you up. So I just jumped all the way to make this assumption that your bones technically float inside the connective tissue. And that's your fascia. And so if your bones are technically floating, they're not structure. So then the whole idea of structure, because I was adjusting structure from chiropractic point of view. And if it's not structure, then what do they do? And what do muscles do? And again, I'm going to tell you some things as we talk today, depending on how deep we get. I'm going to give you my opinion. And I've been doing this so long to know that every time I think I know it, I find something new. So I'm going to say, I don't know shit. But what I've observed over the time, and I could be completely wrong with what I say, but I create a story to help explain what I see, because we have a result in practice that we have no science yet to back. But the practice can't be denied. Like people move faster, they through fascial maneuvers, they run better, that calms trauma, stress, it cools the body down, does all these things that we can observe, but we have no science for it. So that's why I'm open to anybody's version of science around this. And we're encouraging scientists all over the world. That's happening right now with tens of thousands of people starting to study our belief system. And I'm open to change my beliefs, but I'm just going to give you a story as we go along.
You're already one of my favorite people to sit up here and to broadcast and to say, I don't know shit.
Yeah.
Wow, you're helping so many people, because that's one of the things that I really noticed immediately, where all these success, what we call success stories, but just people affirming and expressing their gratitude for being able to move better, to get out of pain, to do stuff that they thought was impossible. It's shocking how many of those stories that you guys have accumulated. And it's only a slice that we would see on social media, but it's evidence that something is working, but also being able to be open to, like, there's more, there's always something, there's always a new way to perceive something. That's just, it speaks to a very evolved human being. And if you could, I want to ask you about that, since we talked about the knee, all right, with fascial maneuvers, if somebody's experiencing knee pain, I mean, again, I know that it's going to be individually based, but are there some simple practices or some things for people to consider if they're dealing with knee pain?
Yeah, we have our primary product is free. So you go out there, there's thousands of fascial maneuvers and hacks, and the basic core 10 essential fascial maneuvers are there. So those 10 essential are designed to move the entire body, kind of like yoga. And then amongst there's thousands of different combinations or interventions that you can do. I don't want to say hacks because it's not really a hack. It's just ways to apply it differently. So we have a lower body reset. If you have a knee problem, you don't only have a knee problem. You have an ankle problem, you have a hip problem, and you have a shoulder problem and a jaw problem all on the same side. And that, anybody who's a structural integration therapist or a chiropractor, they know that these things exist. And so focusing on the knee, we'll call the knee the symptom. Mm-hmm. And that while those other things were malfunctioning, the knee was overcompensating and said, I can't do it anymore. So your body says, I just need you to look at this. But usually a knee issue, we have two things: lower body reset and barefoot sprinter routine number 2. It's on our YouTube. It's free of charge. If you have a knee issue or a hip issue, usually within 3 to 7 times applying that over a course of a week, most of the time it'll go away completely or really close to it. And again, you can find anything you want on the free stuff. And what we've started to do is curate programs specifically so we can fund our movement in different ways. We started to curate things that are more specific to an athlete or to a person or to a practitioner.
Okay. This is fascinating. So
Fascinating.
So specifically mentioning barefoot.
Yes.
So what, and I see where this is going already, but can our shoes be hurting our biology? Can it be hurting our knees, for example?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, the biggest culprit is shoes. Most people have neck, traps, shoulders, neck, and jaw tension. And that's because we wear floaty shoes. If you wear floaty shoes, the body's biotensegrous. So we're like a balloon. And we have 2,000 pounds of pressure on the outside of us, 14.7 pounds per square inch. So pushing down, and we have 2,000 pounds of opposing pressure. And just like an animal balloon, we have areas of pressure that's blocked off. And when we have no stability on the bottom, the upper body has to move more to compensate, to balance. And what the upper body says is, I need to be more stable, so it starts to tighten up here for those cloudy shoes that everybody's running on or walking on. And so I've known this for a long time. I've been wearing barefoot shoes. Vivo Barefoot was my go-to standard all the way back into like 2014 or whenever I started with them. And the number one issues that people are having in health today is, there's a lot of reasons why, but if you crush your feet and you don't get proper movement here, every organ is connected there and it has to touch. Your feet have to articulate and touch. And if it doesn't, these are feedback mechanisms which go to your organs, your systems, your glands, your nerves, your brains, your back, your spine. And everything suffers when your feet don't touch. One of my co-founders, he just decided to make a point. He's gone everywhere around the world with bare feet. We're talking restaurants, airports. He doesn't wear shoes anywhere to prove a point. And, and I go pretty far that way. I wear my Vivo Barefoots when I'm traveling, when I'm moving back and forth, but 90% of the time I'm barefoot.
Amazing. Just thinking about all that data that our feet are picking up and informing our movement, basically, and what happens when you mute that, right? And I guess it would dramatically increase our risk of injury, let alone pain.
Yes, that's where a lot of injuries are coming from. So think about it this way. You have 206 bones in your body. Half of them in your hands or feet. People don't think about it this way, but if you look at the real science of it, calcium is a mineral, but is also a metal. So your minerals are actually metals. And you have over half of the metal in your body in your hands and feet. And that metal is sending signals through your bioelectric nervous system to give information, not just proprioceptive information, but signals and density. And that's why babies are always like foot in the mouth, or hands in mouth. And the reason why is because they're picking up a lot of information, and it's information, not just movement. And movement is the biological explanation for how humans live. But before we move, we have electrical impulses that come into our body from that entropic field. By the way, with Russian bioentropic measurement fields, so we can actually measure this stuff today. It's just not talked about in mainstream science. So before there's a movement in the body, there is an electrical impulse somewhere outside of us that sends a signal that we interpret and we move. And again, we can see it in the field. Now, how it all works, I don't even think we'll ever really know. Like, I don't think human beings are smart enough to figure this out, but we can observe it.
Yeah. I got to ask you, what's screwing up this connection? You know, obviously we mentioned shoes, but what are some of the things that we can consider to be villains? And I use these words loosely, villains or maybe enemies to our natural functioning that's causing this pain that we're experiencing. I'm grateful to have you here because, as you know, we're experiencing an epidemic of pain.
Yes.
Right?
Like
and
never
just like
before.
Loss of function, pain, and it's really pulling away and diminishing quality of life, creativity, joy for so many people. You get trapped in pain. What is it about our society that's causing so many problems with us physically?
Okay. Again, this is my opinion from observation of working personally with 10,000 people, but also now watching millions of people go through these programs of feedback information. So I have a very large set of information to deal with. Here's what we are blaming everything for our health functions, everything from vaccines to food to diet styles to EMFs. They all are contributing. But there is one thing that is at the root of every part of it that I have found. Okay. You didn't get to touch me before, but I'll let you do it afterwards. And you'll see that I'm 80% water. I look like I have muscles, but this is actually very watery, very, very soft, like a baby. In medical school, 30 years ago, we were taught that 70%, the body was 70% water. Today, right now, they're teaching in medical nutrition school it's 60 to 65%. 30 years previous to that, so if we go 50, 60 years ago, they taught that the body was 80% water. So somewhere along the line, we've gone from 80% to 60%. And since our primary construction is water, not the water that we drink, not H2O, it's H3O2. So it's structured water. It's in a gel format. If you cut us, water doesn't drip out of us. That structured water is a primary building block of the human being. Like, so if you make a cake and you get the milk or wrong or the sugar wrong, the weight, it's going to dramatically impact how that cake grows and performs. Well, if we take away 20% of our water, or in the last 30 years, which we're talking about all these dysfunctions coming up, 10% of our water. And then the other ingredient is silica, sand, basically. And so silica and sand make up roughly 95% of the body. And then we have bacterias, and if you think this way, viruses, we won't go there, but that's the construction. So we're like a quartz crystal, and if the primary ingredients are low, then we're going to have a malfunction. And minerals are metals that conduct electricity through that plasma gel, that water we hold in our body. And if any of the minerals are missing, each one of those minerals has a specific pathway. It's like, for those of you guys who are data people, it's like an SVC, or like a virtual pipeline through that cloud. That's how your iPhone connects to your part of the cloud, to this virtual circuit it creates. Well, that's what the metals or the minerals do in our body. And we're deficient in them. And there are some culprits to why we're deficient in them. But I can say that when we restore the minerals and then the water in the body and move it into the fascial tissue, so we break it up and give adhesions, get the adhesions out of the way, I have seen that every disease that I know of today, everything from cancers to fibromyalgia to traumas to autoimmune diseases, they start to change and their symptomatic behavior starts to drop away. And what I can tell you is that we have had tens of thousands of people report changes, including autoimmune diseases where they have diagnosis and then they have another diagnosis says they don't have it. And they've shared that information with us over the years. And in the tune, like you said, results, like in the tune that we don't even keep it anymore. It's like tens of thousands. We don't even have a place for it anymore, but people just share openly. And I can say that because I'm sharing their evidence. It's not me saying that our maneuvers do that. What they're doing is they're saying, we're applying this and it seems to be working and here are the results.
Yeah. Just starting with the ingredients that make up a human being being different That should just be the biggest aha. Like we were just talking about these ancient cultures, these very physical cultures, a lot of physical literacy that we marvel at. And, one of the questions that was posed by the researcher I was talking to was, we know that they had these bodies, but are they the same bodies?
That's my question all the time. And this was the author you interviewed earlier. Yeah. So I believe that when you ask the same type of questions, you'll get the next question. Like, I believe I'm 80% water, and I'm obviously that. I'm very dextile. Like I can move, I can function, I can.
For people that are listening, your ability to just pull your foot up to your mouth like a baby is remarkable. Let alone, I could see like your arms, you look very strong, but then when you grabbed your muscles, it's so pliable.
Yes.
Like it's shocking.
Yes. Shocking. So that was my goal. My goal was to see if I could, because I used to be a bodybuilder. So if I could diminish my muscle content to a point where the fascial content had to be dominant in my construction, that's what my goal was. And I did that through mineralization, movement, moving in a certain way, these fascial maneuvers, moving fascially. So the funny thing that triggered me when you said that is that I looked at it and said, well, how do I know that every body wasn't like this? I know that bodies were 80% water 60 years ago. And I know I'm 80% water. Was everybody like this? I kind of look like them. I look lean. I don't look super muscular. I optically look like them, but we don't have anybody to touch and feel to know that that's actually the case. So the greater question is, were we actually different? And I believe we are, because when I started working in clinical practice, let's call it 2012, I started noticing these behaviors in people. And I noticed that 70, 80-year-olds were still moving. And back then, but today, a 70, 80-year-old doesn't move. So they're more dehydrated, they're more restricted. But in my short time of 15 years or so, that wasn't true 15 years ago. So we have this sliding degradation of ability in human beings, but we can't see it because we're so focused on our daily rat race. We don't really look at the bigger picture. And you said earlier about sickness. I ask a simple question on this world tour. I ask how many people, when I started the tour, and we officially started May 2024, but up to that January, we were testing it. So I'd ask people, how many people here have a chronic issue, or somebody in their immediate family or close friends has a chronic issue? And a year and a half ago, that was 30% of the audience. Today, it's 90+% of the audience. And that's in just 18 months. So I believe we're in the world's largest shift in human health. We are sicker than we've ever been, but simultaneously we're using more therapy, more nutrition, more counselors. Everybody's a health coach. Everybody's got a new method, a new modality, and we're using more ancient practices and shamanic practices and plant medicine. And the contribution of all of these things we've used them more now than ever in human history, but simultaneously we're sicker. So something isn't working. And from a logic standpoint, when you break down systems, if you have all of those things that aren't working, it's one of two things. It's the formulas. The formulas are like the programs, the diets, the practices, like like a chiropractic and acupuncture and all that. Or something's wrong with them. And I said, it can't be with all of them. So it has to be something else. It's either the formulas or what you're formulating against, which is, what is a human body? Back to that thing. How are we made? How are we constructed? Is our belief system about how this thing works, is it accurate? Is it true? I do know that we're supposed to be more water. And when we do add more water, disease and dysfunction goes down and performance goes up. And by the way, because I know this is going to come up, the number one cause of dehydration in the body is the overconsumption of water. Because our water is all polluted, we drink demineralized water. And demineralized water strips water from your body. The current trend is reverse osmosis, which is a device that was used for making medication. reverse osmosis water should never be drinking by a human. Never even put on your skin. Never mind we got people drinking it, because it does. It cleans everything out. But it takes all the minerals out of your body. And then water collects stuff. As when it goes over a rock, it wears a groove in a rock over time on a waterfall. So if you don't have minerals in your water, then just like the rock, you become the rock and the minerals are stripped out of you. And so the overconsumption of water, just drink 8 glasses a day, or drink half your weight in gallon or in gallon or liters or whatever it was. These things here are causing this chronic dehydration that people can't get out of. And these are like well-accepted belief systems.
Universal solvent.
It's a universal solvent.
Right.
Should never be drinking.
All right. With this being said, what do we need to do? What should we be drinking? Okay. How do we solve this issue with this change that's happened in our ingredients?
Okay, so there's a lot of debate about this. I'll just tell you what I did that worked for me and what I've observed millions of people doing that's working. Number one is you need minerals. There's a base element of mineral because of, now it's clear, I got shut down in my clinic for talking about chemtrails. This is in 2019. 2018, the banks took our money, the state came in. We were being attacked by boards, by states, by banks shut us down. And I was talking about why people were so dehydrated. I noticed from hair follicle testing that they had barium, strontium, aluminum in their fascia on their hair. Everybody did, from all parts of the world. We had clinics from we had patients from all over the world, and everybody had this in their hair. I started looking at, what does barium do to the human body? That's a geoengineering that they put out there. Barium depletes silica. Silica is the primary thing that you're made out of. If you deplete silica, all the other minerals start to malfunction because it's building blocks. You need elements and then minerals. And if the elements don't exist, if any of the elements don't exist, they start to malfunction. But the primary one, silica. So if you take silica and to make it deficient, then the body cannot properly hydrate. And so 600 milligrams of silica is what we gave to 10,000 active patients as an experiment. And we did it, rotated it in a triple blind, our own study. Again, just us trying to figure it out. And what we noticed is when silica was added, instantaneously, hair, nail, skin changed right away. Cognition went up, absorption went up in their digestive tract. All these things started to happen. And that meant that a lot of people were probably even taking minerals. A lot of people listening to this podcast probably taking minerals, and they're still not working. And that's because you're missing silica. You take silica, then all of a sudden everything else starts to work. And these interventions require virtually no money. So nobody wants to talk about them from an economic point of view, and nobody wants to do science on them. That's the challenge. And since we were we're an impact-driven organization. So I don't have a salary. None of my co-founders have salaries. We don't have homes that we're paying for like this. We live in a community, work as a community. We travel as a community to keep our costs down and also to increase our productivity. But we turned all of the money that we make into creating more expansion and helping more people, driving more messages. Because if we do it that way, we can actually make an impact. But everybody else is fighting over things that drive money. And even the current biohacking space and longevity space is primarily driven at revenue. And if revenue is the outcome, it will always be wrong at some point. It may be right today, but look at the biohackers now getting sick. I'm not going to mention names, but a lot of them come back to me who were patients of the clinic when we were there. And they're coming back now because things aren't working.
2 questions. So where do we ideally source the silica, and what should we be drinking?
Okay, so structured water. I mean, do the best that you can. Reverse osmosis, if you got it, get rid of it, throw it out, or put another filter and mineralize. You can get a mineralizer and a filter. So you can remineralize the water, but it's still dead and it's mineralized. So you want a structuring device, and there's different ways you can do it. There's so many I can't even begin to tell you, and I don't want to direct you to any. It's not a sales pitch. You can actually take it in a glass vase, put crystals in the bottom. You could swirl it around in the sun and leave it out in the sun and swirl it. That will actually restructure your water. So structuring the water so your body can adapt to it. That's the one thing. And the minerals that you can get, this like horsetail is a good one. Silicon dioxide you can get. That's like in BioSil or something like that. But I have chosen to use diatomaceous earth, which is something that I, not now, but a year ago I was getting shut down the media for saying, because it's also an anti-parasitic. It's like kind of like ivermectin, but $20 last year for 2 years. And so it has the same holistic effects of some of the pharmaceuticals, and I believe that's why we were getting shut down at that time. But literally, they shadow banned us for talking about structured water and diatomaceous earth. So those are the ones that we recommend. We actually have a free supplement guide. People can just go to our website and download it, and we have a hydration guide. They can go download it, and that information is just there for them to. And it doesn't tell them to buy our products. It tells them why and how, and it points to ways they can get it naturally. And we have some products that they can purchase as well.
Where's this at?
It's on our website, just on humangarage.net.
Boom. Okay. Now, question, you mentioned chemtrails.
Yeah.
All right. This can be a dirty word out here.
But I think it's getting better.
Yeah. Recently, there are some who be considered, some credible scientists who are speaking out about this, because again, you look up in the sky, you see, these various trails. It's just like, oh, that's just the, water vapors or whatever the case might be. But just looking at getting actual analysis of what is contained in this, as you mentioned, the aluminum being found is crazy. And the purpose behind it, again, in a strange way, I'm not going to say altruistic, but that's the word that's coming up. Trying to reduce global warming, right? We can kind of create this filter. And I think that's one of the premises behind it.
Sure.
If the chemtrails are real, but if you could share more on this so that people can, start to form a more educated opinion about it.
I think you just need to look at geoengineering, and there's patents that exist, U.S. Patent Office. And you'll see that we've been doing it since 1956, where we've been modifying weather. I have spent a lot of time in Dubai, been working with the royal families and the governments over there. And it was only a year ago that the streets, people were swimming down the streets and you taking boats on the streets because their weather modification, they overstepped and it rained and it flooded everything. So there's no question that we're modifying weather. They call it geoengineering. And whatever else is being done, there's something called stratospheric aerosol injection, which is even more nefarious than you could ever think, because you can put anything you want in there, and we're breathing it. It's just like inhaling a drug. We inhale drugs now. We get inhalers. Well, we're inhaling drugs. So let's just talk about the basic ones: barium, strontium, aluminum. And the U.S. Patent Office has patents on geoengineering. You can go see it. It's out there. RFK talks about it. The states, like Florida State, has actually put a state law banning it. Mexico is banning it. So it can no longer be said that they don't exist, because we're writing laws to stop it. So if you're out there saying it's only a contrail on a plane and I don't really believe it, we're writing laws. We don't write laws about things that don't exist. And the idea behind why they're doing it, like, I have my belief systems, but we're spraying aluminum. Aluminum has been known to cause every neuromuscular disease, dementia, Parkinson's, everything like that. They're telling you not to, now they're letting you say, hey, watch out the aluminum you put on your underarm spray. That may be causing it. Meanwhile, you're consuming copious amounts of it every day while you're breathing. And strontium is just horrible. It lands in the lungs and it sits on the alveoli. And what it seems to do is it seems to cause something called pulmonary edema when we get sick. Pulmonary edema. That means you get fluid in your lungs. If you get a flu, you get fluid in your lungs, called pulmonary edema. They've actually named that with a C word. They've named that symptom. So we have all these things, and we get barium and all this other stuff, the normal particles. Like, I went into, because I've been investigating ways that medicine starts to become more holistic, and I found one device that I believe in, and there's a couple versions of it, but inosphoresis, not just phoresis, where they clean your blood. I took all my blood out, all 6.3 liters, put it through a 0.1 filter, like a filter like in your water filter, and it filtered all the spike proteins, heavy metals, and plasma and microplastics. I'm the most careful guy that you'll ever meet. I carry sheets, I carry water filters, like I literally control my environment. I had microplastics. They give you this bag, this inflammation. You get a little line of microplastics. And I've got some stuff. If you look at Garry cleans his blood, you'll see a quick reel on it. But I got a documented piece coming out where I show the actual microplastics and at the bottom the heavy metals. I'm like, where am I getting this from? Well, heavy metals, we have it from the exhaust from cars all over the place. That's one place. Microplastics, it's like people wearing gym clothes made out of plastic. All of our sportswear is made out of plastic. That's why I've worked with organizations like Pact or Riker, because they're making clothes and gym clothes that is actually made out of wool and cotton and fits and stuff like that. So if we're wearing plastic and we sweat, then that microplastic goes into our system and goes into our blood. We have plastic bags, all these things that we're doing. So we have this environmental issue, which people are medicating, taking supplements, going to practitioners, and they're doing all these things to try and make themselves better. But it's like swimming up a stream with a current coming at you, because if you have a lot of microplastics in your blood and a lot of heavy metals, then everything you do is going to not work as well. And I was shocked at how much microplastics came out of my system. I mean, bizarre.
Wow. And you're somebody who's careful about it,
Super careful.
Intentional. That's amazing. Like, so with this being said, outside of people going and getting their blood filtered, what can people do?
Simple things. Okay, first and foremost is think about this. This is your tissue. If it gets hard and dehydrated over time, it's like this surface of this table. It's kind of hard. The water is going to run over it. But if I scuffed it and sanded it, the water would be porous and it would sink into the wood or the enamel. So our tissue has become dehydrated. So it becomes kind of like this table. It's kind of like this where water fluids just kind of rush by. So those things that I'm talking about exist in your fascial tissue, which is around your muscles and through your muscles, around your organs, inside your organ, but it's in that fascial tissue and underneath the skin. And that needs movement. It doesn't matter how many chelations you do, how many supplements you do, it doesn't matter what biohacking procedure you do. If you don't move your tissue, it's still there. And I got this because I did a second blood cleaning and it got more microplastics and more heavy metals than the first one, which means the first one, the blood was at capacity, couldn't handle anymore. Clean my blood and then it goes, whoof, takes another round of it. So the simple thing is to take silica, 600 milligrams a day, take all 102 minerals. You can take Irish sea moss, which is really easy to get, and bladder wrack. That gives you all 102, those two there. Take your minerals and your elements, the silica, and then do a movement routine that uses pressure. And it doesn't have to be fascial maneuvers. There's other things like yin yoga will start to get you there. I just noticed that fascial maneuvers works better. You can do fascial maneuvers like try our 15-minute stress reset. It's free. Just go try it and try it 1-2 times a day. And if you do that, you'll start to notice that the compression and rotation in the body, like we were doing earlier, causes all the fascial tissue, when you compress it and rotate it, it creates friction in that fascial tissue. And the reason why you feel so alive after doing that is because that friction creates a piezoelectric field. So it creates electricity inside your fascia. So you'll feel better and you'll get friction that'll break it up and those tissues will be able to come out as a result, the minerals and the plastics will be able to come out. There's things like tamarind. Tamarind has been shown really powerful to remove microplastics. And then you can take with your minerals and like diatomaceous earth, the one we recommend, and moving the tissue, you'll even start to remove the heavy metals. And you can do heavy metal detox, but those heavy metals, the parasites like the heavy metals. So it actually, by doing this all together in one system, you could do this. So we have a 28-day reset, which you can go do online. You can do it. You can contribute $1. You can go on a structured program, like a guided program. Or if you don't have money, you can send us and we'll give it to you for free. But you can do that 28-day reset and you'll get a daily movement of 15 to 20 minutes that precisely will start to move you through that process. If you add our supplement recommendations to it, you'll find that you detox and move and your body changes within the course of that first month.
Amazing. Amazing. I think for a lot of people, they're aware of the changes, with our diets, with our sedentary behavior, lack of sleep, all these things that are contributing to these health issues. But this is revolutionary in thinking about, again, the ingredients that make us up, let alone the food, but in particular, we're mostly made of water.
Yeah.
And being intentional about that. But something else that it has one big broad name, but it might be, if we're keeping it in a big broad name, it might be the thing that's hurting us the most, and it's stress.
Yes.
So can you talk about the role that stress has on our biology?
So let's unravel that a little bit. What is stress? Most people, if you ask, including practitioners and doctors and therapists, they'll say stress is your job. Stress is your home life. Stress is IRS. And these are all stressful things. Like these are all things but that is not stress. Even things like electricity and EMFs, that's not stress. Those are stressors. Stress is our body's response to the stressor. And a simple analogy that helped me understand this was when I was hungover, lights were stressful. Somebody tapping on a table was stressful. The TV was stressful because I had no capacity to take any more information in. So when our bodies are hungover, we have more stress. And our bodies are always hungover when we're dehydrated. Like when you drink, you get hungover because you dehydrate your brain. Our bodies are dehydrated. It means we're always slightly hungover. So the answer is hydration. We have a 15-minute stress reset that takes out 75 to 90% of the stress in your body, no matter how you measure it. It's on our YouTube. It's free of charge. And you can do that right now. And your physical stress and emotional stress will diminish within that first 15 minutes, usually within 7 to 10 minutes. So if we do that over a period of time, it's just like anything else. Stress is cumulative, but so is care. If I care for myself over time, if I care for myself one night, I eat a good food, get a good sleep, that's not going to solve my health issue. But if I do that repetitively over night after night and over weeks and after months, I'm going to start to move the needle. Well, the same thing with stress, but stress you can unwind faster than anything else. Mineralization, water, which are the primary ingredients of stress, because when you're dehydrated, even breathing becomes stressful. Because if you're dehydrated, you're tight around your rib cage. If I just slightly contract your rib cage and just give it 5 pounds of pressure and you breathe, your body will go into stress. And that's what's happening globally to us. But since it's happening all at once, our body just says, okay, that's the way it is. So I challenge people to really look at stress a different way and say, stress is something that not I can manage. I can reduce the amount of tension or in my body so that I can accept more stressors. Because likely you're not going to change your traffic, your job, your situation, your relationship. It's not going to change overnight. And running away from it's not going to help. But giving our bodies more capacity to receive and transmute that stress. Because that stress is also energy and motion. In other words, emotional. So if we give our bodies more capacity, then we can actually move that energy through our body. We can connect it again through the fascia and then release the emotion, which is the greatest stressor of all.
It reminds me of Whitney Houston, greatest love of all. It's the opposite of that. It's the opposite. Wow. Obviously, this isn't, the world that we live in is radically different from our ancestors, but we still have the same basic wiring, and the stressors are different, right?
Sure.
But these are stressors, and it's still, even thousands of years ago, it was still going to be based on how your body's responding to the things.
Sure.
Same today. And so we can essentially make ourselves more resilient, train ourselves, help to make a healthier response to things. But we need those basic ingredients is what I'm hearing. And I love that because it's empowering, because I think especially today we're so stressed. We say it, I'm stressed out. I'm carrying so much stress. To be able to better metabolize stress, but also to build up. What's a good analogy for how our bodies maybe get overwhelmed with stress? Is it kind of like, like digging a hole, maybe? Like, what's a good analogy for
Okay,
this?
so I'm gonna pick apart a word you said earlier, just to illustrate a point. Close your eyes. I'm gonna say a word: resilience, adaptability. Resilience, adaptability. Which one feels better?
Adaptability.
Right. When I tell myself that I have to be more resilient, that means I have to fight more. That's the beginning of stress. The fluid adaptive biological computing system that we call a body is meant to be adaptable. And if we're adaptable, and you can think about it a couple of different ways. Our bodies either compensate or they adapt. And there's the only two things. Compensation is stressful. Adaptation is not stressful. And so at the core of it, all of the idea of the biohacking world and this whole thought is to be more resilient. And the concepts are built around being more resilient when we want to be adaptable. Let me give you like an analogy that kind of works for me. And these analogies are the ones I tell myself so that I can grab a better understanding of the issue. You have a bathtub, and in that bathtub is your body, your human experience, and that water is going to be performance. And so the current model is I want to perform better. So what we do is as the water is rising, we turn up more water. We turn more water and more water and more water. But what's stopping that water from performing what's stopping the body from performing is the amount of water in the tub. So we need to keep it at this base level. And so what we're doing in our current culture is we're turning more power on. We're turning more force on. We're creating more resilience, or we're creating more force, or we're doing more workout to try and be better. But what we really need to do is just pull the plug and let the water drain out to a natural level again. And that's pulling the plug on your stress. If you don't have a way, and most people, we live in this stressful environment where our jobs, our work, everything is, the stressors are already there. And we just get used to this baseline of about a 6 to a 7 stressor every day. And if we can't remove that and pull that down to a 2 every day, then eventually the accumulation of that resilience, the body is resilient until it's not. And then the body starts shutting down, compensating. And those compensations are what put the body not at ease. And when the body's not at ease over a long period of time, that's where dis-ease comes from. And dis-ease is just the body not being able to adapt for a long period of time in a specific way and compensating. And then eventually it says, dude, I can't do this anymore. Or dudette, whatever.
Yeah. Get the towels, get the plumber. You got to get all this assistance to try to deal with that overflow.
Yeah.
It makes so much sense. So can you give us, you mentioned the stress reset, which we'll put a link for everybody to utilize the full version, but can you give us some context on what does that look like?
So we did it before. I mean, one of the things that you do is it's a counter-rotated movement. So you can try it right now. Pull the mic away a little bit. Yeah. And it's your left. So I'll do my left. Okay. Take your left hand, put it underneath your right armpit, right arm on top. Turn your head to the left and your body to the right. Now, purse your lips, breathe in and hold it. Go. Hold it there. Breathe more. Hold it. Breathe more. Exhale. Do it again. More. Exhale. One last time, breathe in. More. Exhale. Now breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth 6 times. Go. One last one. Unwind from that. So what do you feel like?
I almost want to take a nap.
So it's...
First of all, I got very hot after the first one.
That's
Just the warmth.
That's the fascia removing restrictions in a non-threatening way.
It's not my Nike Tech.
Yeah.
It's not that.
And it's not, like when we stretch or we do yoga, we create resistance in the body, and the body fires a stress signal against it, which, I mean, they're all great. The body needs stress, but this takes the body into relaxation instantaneously. It drops it so fast that what you're feeling is serotonin, dopamine, oxytocin going up.
I didn't want to come out of that.
Yeah, isn't that cool?
Yeah.
So think about that. It's both sides of that, both legs over, and then one called anti-gravity, which anti-gravity literally makes you feel like you lost 20 pounds. And then what we call palate swipe. What it does is you see a lot of people now getting facial symmetry, mewing, and using their thumbs to pull their jaws apart. Palate swipe is a gentle version of that, which allows you to reset the palate of the mouth, open up your airways.
Human Garage, where did that name come from?
There's a lot of story around it. There's two storylines. One is the guy who named it, helped me name it, Dan Lissick from Wild Branding, one of the best creative minds ever. I've been using him for 35 years. He watched me work with people, and he says, you're like a mechanic. You tinker, they get up and walk, they come back, you tinker around. And so originally that was the idea. He goes, you look like a mechanic. Where does a mechanic work? A body garage. So it's a human body garage. And for marketing, too long. So we take human body garage, take body out and make human garage. But ironically, in Venice, California, when we started this, we actually started in the garage on Doreen Place at Lincoln Place Apartments. That's the actual place where we birthed the human garage, the therapy portion of it. And we were seeing people in our garage. It got too hot. So in this 800 square foot apartment, we took out all the furniture, kept our room, and everything else was a clinic. And we saw people. We see people 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night. We had mainstream celebrities like Brandon Roth, who's Superman, and Katie Lotz. And we had all of these mainstream celebrities and athletes coming to this little apartment. Why? Because it worked. And we were I look back at it, we were just experimenting, and we were having a great time doing it. And that's where it came from.
Oh, that's very human.
Yeah.
Human Garage. This is obviously very practical as well. Mm-hmm. It's very practical. Yeah. Some of the thinking can be complex, but if people are wanting to work on themselves, right, to tinker, to become more pliable, right, and to interact with their fascia, like what are some of the things that you recommend? Are there like certain tools that you use? Should people be like foam rolling, using their hands?
I got the best
tools?
Tool recommendation. The best one. Me. It's like there is a set of tools that was designed long time ago. And these tools were some of the most complex tools ever to be used to work with the human body. And they're so complex that nobody understands them, but they're so simple, everybody uses them already. It's called your hands and your mouth. You need nothing else other than that. You don't even need to go to a gym. We did this sitting here. You can do it in your car. You can do it anywhere, anytime. And that's what makes it work, because people have busy lives. They can't take another hour out to go do a program, but they can spend 5 minutes to do one seated maneuver. Like you felt relaxed after one. You can do that at work. We have seated maneuvers. You can go do them at your desk. You can do them standing in line. Lots of lines happening these days. You can do them anywhere, anytime. I do it in the airport. I do it on a plane. That's really what makes it work. It's because, and the other part too is you can't do it wrong. You don't need to be an expert. The first time you do it, good or bad, you have a result. And if you do it more, you just get better at it. But you can't screw it up.
Amazing. So where can people connect with you, get more information, just get more into your world?
Listen, we get it up to 1 million DMs a month. So if you're DMing me, you're not DMing me, just so you know. The best way to connect to us, we have programs that are set out in these resets, and you'll see us talking and teaching through those. And a lot of them are free anyways. So online, any social media account, if you want to take the next step, go into a structured program, like Introduction to Fascial Maneuvers, a 7-day reset, a 28-day reset. And again, pay what you feel right. Pay us $1, pay us $20, pay us $200, whatever works for you. You could do those programs. If you want to work with me in particular and our co-founders, the only way to do that today is to join our coaching program. We have over 50 million people practicing, and that's the best number we can give you. I believe it's more, but that's the one I can substantiate with numbers. And what we have is we have less than, like right now, probably 1,500 coaches or less. And we just launched a coaching program where we have the inverse problem that most people have. We have everybody who wants to do it, are already doing it at home, and they want help, and we don't have the help. So if you want to really connect with us, you're a practitioner, you're an individual, you're a mom, you're a pro athlete, take our coaching program. And if you want, we have a business accelerator. We connect you with the people who want the help, which is kind of cool. You take that program, and that's where I'm spending my time, because it doesn't make sense for me to fix people anymore. I've done that for years. I put my hands on tens of thousands of people. But what it makes sense for me to do is to help people that are helping people. Yeah. And that's where I spend all my time today. If you're helping people at scale, then I will help you. And sometimes that's an athlete, or sometimes that's a celebrity, or it's a doctor. Because if I help them shift their viewpoint, they actually go and help more people. And that's really the only place I put my time. So you can't book an appointment with me ever.
Yeah. Website again?
HumanGarage.net or Human Garage on any social account. We got millions of people. So just join along and do a 15-minute stress reset. If it works for you, share it. That's all we ask. Share this with the people. Share what you know. Don't wait. Don't become an expert. If it works for you today, share it tomorrow. Amazing.
This has been fascinating, and I appreciate you so much. You came in here, your team immediately got to moving. Yes. In the other room, by Absolutely. The way. You guys practice what you preach. You're about that life. And, it's very apparent, and I just appreciate it very much. Thank you.
Yeah, I really, really appreciate you for having us.
Hey, if you like this video, make sure to check out this video right here.
We all have habits. We reach for our toothbrush with our right hand. We get out of our car with our left foot and we bend a certain way. We have certain specific habits that we always do as far as movement's concerned. But rope flow provides movement symmetry.